Hi, everybody. Welcome to my Bio 113 class. I am making this video to give you a little bit of an idea how to find your way around in my courses in my class. So when you come in, you see the course setup. They're all set up sort of, the idea is they're all set up the same way. There's a Start Here button. You should start there. When you find this video, if you're listening to this video, you've probably already found the Start Here button. But when you click on here, you'll see things like the overview, the instructor, a little bit of an introduction, uh, a link to the syllabus. In my cases, the syllabus is usually linked um, from a different location. So you just click on a link, um, and then you get the link to the syllabus that you need. Um, Academic resources if you need those, technology assistance, tutoring services, netiquette, the kinds of things that you need to survive in a in an online class, and it's right there for you. The second thing you find here is a quick introduction to Blackboard. If you're new to Blackboard, if you're unfamiliar with some of the features, this is where you can get that information. And then if you need tutoring help, their BrainFuse allows you to get tutoring like right then and there. Um, Now, the things that I create, there's two types of things that you're going to get that I'm going to provide you with. One is this resource folder. So anytime if you're trying to figure out where something is that's kind of general, it doesn't really belong in any specific folder, but it's sort of supporting materials to the materials, go look under resources. If you click on resources, one of the things you'll find there is the Labster dashboard. The Google site, I'm going to click on that real quick. The Google site is a site I've created um, to help you with, and there's two parts to the Google site that are of use. One is just the straight up Google site, which is gives you review materials for each of the most of the things we're covering. But then the other one is the questions and answer site, and the questions and answer side is going to give you answers to some of the things that in general students have a hard time with. So one of the ones that they struggle with is the macromolecules Labster, and so there is a specific a Google Doc that walks you through that specific Labster activity that's supposed to help you with that. So that's that. That's resources. The lab materials, all of the lab materials are available from OneDrive, and you have actually access to all of the lab materials at the same time. So if any links ever don't work, just click on one of these, like we're looking at survivorship, and here are the lab materials to survivorship right there. There's always and the lab materials are always the same thing. Well, there's always a standard set that you're going to have every time. You're going to every time have a lab handout in a Word and in a PDF document. Then you're going to have a PowerPoint. Um, a lot of times it's going to be two PowerPoints, one of them for the lecture part, one of them for the lab materials part. That way they're both a little shorter. Um, and then the question set. The question set is part of the lab handout. Usually there's only one document. The one I just happened to pick here, the survivors, there's a couple of different versions of this one, but we will cover that as when we get to that. But usually you see these three folders, and the lab handout has the whole handout in it. The PowerPoints is the PowerPoints that I actually have usually have a video about. And then the question set is the thing you actually turn in, where you answer the questions. So if you're in an in-person class, this is what you would be potentially printing out and turning in. Um, so that's the resources section. Um, you're only going to encounter that every once in a while. Every single week, you're going to have a module that's going to exist, and each week, the module is everything that you need to cover that week. So when you click at the module, each module is set up exactly the same way. There's a module overview, then there's a section that's to know, then a to see, and then a to do, and then there's optional materials. When you click on these, module overview tells you something about the concepts, the principles, why it matters. And a lot of times there's a walkthrough video there which tells you a little bit about how all the things fit together. So it tells you about this is what we're going to do when you walk into the class, that kind of stuff. It kind of gives you a 5-minute overview of all the things that are going to happen in this section. And I would highly recommend that you watch, if you do nothing else, watch the walkthrough video. Even if you're in the face-to-face class, watch the walkthrough video because it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what the kinds of things are that you're going to be looking at that week. Watch it before class. Um, then the next thing is the lab handout. The lab handout is usually linked to those folders with those three folders. Then there's a lecture that goes with the PowerPoint that's in the PowerPoint folder. Sometimes there's optional stuff that I want you to do. Most of it is just for entertainment. The main things you do each week is you have a lecture quiz, you have the question set, and you have a Labster assignment. Um, the next thing is demonstration. So that's basically the lab section of the lab. So here is where I talk about what we do in the lab. Sometimes this is videos of what you do in the lab. Sometimes this is activities. So this is different things. And then the next thing is the assignments themselves. And the assignments, there's usually a lecture quiz, a handout question set quiz, and then the Labster assignment. And if you go over there, you get to the view assessment. I'm already late, apparently. So there's that's your lecture quiz. And then if you click on here, you see the rest of them. The handout question set. The handout question set, if you look at the handout, and the written question set and it doesn't make much sense to you, um, click on the assessment that is in the assignment, because sometimes I've tried to turn some questions into multiple choice questions, or something that's open-ended question sometimes has been turned into a um, short answer question. So you can open these. Nothing bad happens if you open these and look at them, right? So none of these are timed. Nothing bad happens. Open them, look at them, try them. As a matter of fact, the lecture quizzes, you have 3 tries each time. The handout question sets, you have unlimited attempts. So if you don't get it right the first time, try it again for the second time around, and then come to me with questions after that. But try it first. There's a lot of learning happening by trying. Labster, there's sometimes one, sometimes two. You only have to do one. And Labster, when you click on it, it's similar to you can't break it. You can do it multiple times. The questions are always the same. So you click on launch, and it comes up. And apparently I've already used it once. So you can either start new or you can resume. So you can resume this and start back later, so you don't necessarily have to finish it the first time around. Once Labster starts, sometimes it takes a second to come up. Once Labster starts, you click start. And again, you can't break anything. It tells you what to do. So down here, it says, click on the door to enter the laboratory. So I was already halfway into this process, so I didn't start it over, but it tells you what to do on this thing, right? So you go in here And prior to entering the laboratory, I actually had to put a lab coat on, and I put my gloves on and that kind of stuff. Um, so I'm already, like I said, I'm already halfway in. But you move around by dragging this thing around to the right and to the left, and then you can click on things, and it tells you what these things are, and it tells you why they're dangerous, and it tells you what to do. Find the 5 safety hazards and click on them. So you just clicked on this one. Um, and then you have to just click on the other ones. Press escape to get out, and then you're back um, to. In this particular time, I have a optional materials. There's not always optional materials. This time, I do have optional materials. Um, those are just for fun. There's nothing. If there are additional assignments, I will let you know that there are additional assignments. But hopefully that'll give you a little bit of an idea of how to look at these, how to look at this course. Um, on the content, that's what we just looked at the content. Discussions, I don't use many discussions in the Bio 113. Um, if the need arises, we'll talk about it specifically. The grade book is here. It'll look a little differently to you than it does to me. Um, clearly, I wasn't very good as a student. Um, with regards to grades, the things that you probably are the most concerned about is actually listed in the syllabus. As far as late work goes, most items you're going to have a week to turn them in. So the lab happens whatever day the lab happens, or whatever day if you're in an online class, it starts on the class starts on a Tuesday, and your stuff is always due on Monday night. If you're in my face-to-face class, the clock starts the day of your class. That's when things are officially posted. And then you have a week to turn it in. Um, you always have an additional week um, where I will accept anything without question with potentially a late penalty. And if I don't accept it anymore, usually I accept it even beyond that. But once you don't see the assignment anymore, you cannot turn it in anymore. Um, and that's really where it is. Usually, I shut it down a couple of weeks after it's been assigned. Hopefully, this is helpful. If you have any questions, reach out to me and let me know.